Now let's proceed to our topic, arrays. Now an array stores multiple values in one single variable. Okay, so it's a special variable which can hold more than one value at a time. So if we have a list of items, such as a list of car names, storing the cars in a single variable could look like this. So we have car, Volvo, we have second car, BMW, we have third car, Toyota. However, if we have many or more than 3 car names, then it would be difficult for us to write as such. Okay, and what if we have, or if you had not 3 cars but 300? Okay, so the solution is to create an array. An array can hold many values under a single name, and we can access the values by referring to an index number. Okay, so to create an array in PHP, the array function is used to create it. Okay, and in PHP there are 3 types of arrays. We have index, they are arrays with a numeric index; associative, they are arrays with named keys; and multidimensional arrays, they are arrays containing one or more arrays. Okay, and we also have the function count, which is used to return the length or the number of elements of an array. For example, okay, so we have an array here. Okay, so you type variable cars, okay, and then the array function, open, close, and we put items inside the array. Okay, so we have the example before: Toyota, BMW, and what's the other one? Mazda. Okay, and then in order for us to know how many values or how many items are stored in this array, we use the function count. Okay, so we count variable cars here, which stores the array. Okay, and we count cars here because we want to know how many items are stored in this array, and we use the echo to print it out. Okay, supposing we only have 2. Okay, so it's going to print out 2. Okay. Now let's discuss the PHP index arrays. What are indexed arrays? Okay, so there are 2 ways to create indexed arrays. They can be assigned automatically. The index always starts at 0. Okay, so we have to remember that arrays or index of the array always starts at 0, like this. Okay, so we have the variable cars which hold this array. Okay, so index 0 is Volvo, index 1 is BMW, and index 2 is Toyota. The following example creates an index array named cars, assigns 3 elements to it, and then prints a text containing the array values. Okay, so let's try this one. Okay, supposing we have an array here of these car names. Okay, so first we have to write the variable name, and then inside this variable name we create an array using the array function, and inside the arrays we list down the items inside it. Okay, so we have Volvo, we have BMW and we have Toyota. Now we want to know what are the items inside this array. Okay, so we have, okay, so maybe we can do it like this. Echo, let's echo the first array we want to, the first item inside the array is Volvo, so we want to print it out. Okay, so we say echo, then the name of the variable which holds the array, and we use this bracket and calls the index number. So we want to know what is index 0. Okay, and then we close it, or full stop, x. Okay, so now we know that inside the array there are many car names, and in index 0 we know that the item is Volvo. Okay, so how about at index 3 or index 2? Okay, that is Toyota. Okay, because we all know that arrays starts at 0. The index of the array starts at 0. Okay, this is 0, Volvo is 0, BMW is 1, and Toyota is 2. Okay, however, if we have like another one like Mitsubishi or Suzuki or Ford, okay, so that becomes the third item in the array. Okay, so we want to know all the items in the array, so we just type up cars. The first value here should be 0, then concatenate the second item plus the third item plus the last item, and then we run it. Okay, and so maybe we can just put spacing here. Oops. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we all know that inside this array we know that at a particular index that is the item inside our array. Okay, so what else? We can loop through an index array. So to loop through and print all the values of an index array, we can use a for loop like this. Okay, so let's try it. Okay, so we have the variable cars, and inside the variable cars we have the array of car names, right? We have Volvo, BMW, and Toyota. Now we use the count function to know the items inside the cars, and we assign it into a variable array length. Okay, so we'll loop through the items inside our array. Okay, for x starts at 0, this is the index of the array, x is less than the array length. Okay, okay, so here I just want to know how many items inside this array. Now, using array length or using count function, which we assigned it into a variable array length, I just echoed the array length to know how many variables or how many items inside this array, and now it gives me 3 because there is of course 3 items inside this array. Okay, so now we use the for loop in order for us to loop through inside this variable to know the items inside the array. So now we initialize x to 0, okay, because the array starts at 0. Then x is less than the array length, which of course we know that the array length is 3, okay, and once it evaluates to true, it's going to increment by 1, okay, and it's going to echo what is inside this index, okay, and now it's also going to echo br or break in order for it to create or to print it into a new line. Okay, so let's try to run this one. Okay, so we have Volvo, BMW, and Toyota. Okay, so this x here represents the index of the array here. Now, so it starts with 0, and then it's going to loop through. It's going to be 1, and then it's going to loop through again 2. Okay, and when it finds, and finally when it reaches 3, it's not going to loop anymore because we only have, so after 3 it's not going to loop through anymore because we only have 3 items inside the array. Okay, so that's why we use for loop in order for us to know what items inside this array. Now let's discuss associative arrays. So associative arrays are arrays that use named keys that you assign to them. There are 2 ways to create an associative array. Okay, so first we assign it into a variable, and using the array function we provide the key and the value. Okay, so we have Peter, age is 35, then as the key, and the value or the age is 37, and so on. Or we can assign it one by one. Okay, so the variable age, and then we provide it with a key inside a bracket, okay, and we provide it with a value. Okay, so the named keys can be used in a script. For example, we have here so supposing here we have an array. Okay, so we have, no, not age, we're going to use phone or mobile phones. Mobile phone. Okay, so we use the function array, and inside the function array we provide the key value pairs. For example, we have good. This is just an example. Okay, so don't get mad if I put good here as an iPhone, as the iPhone, and then better. So we have what, Samsung, and best. So let's say Motorola. Okay, so we have the key and the value. Okay, so we have the key and the value. Okay, now we're going to echo something here. Okay, so we want to know what the best phone is. So we're going to use the variable name mPhone, okay, and we're going to call on its key. Okay, so we have what is the best phone? Okay, so we're going to echo the best phone. Okay, now it gives us Motorola as the best phone because we called on its key. Okay, so instead of calling the index, which is supposed to be, if we have a first item here, this is going to be 0, the second item is going to be 1, and the third item is going to be 2. But in associative arrays, they have named keys that we assign to them. So instead of calling 0 here, we use good. Okay, we use better or we use best, or we can also use the name of the person if we're looking for age, or we can also put the name of the person, then the value here could be grades. It depends on the use of it, or it depends on what we require of it. Okay, so we can also loop through an associative array. And to loop through and print all the values of an associative array, we can use for each. Okay, so the for each loop here is used to loop through inside the key value pair inside this array. Okay, so again, so supposing we have the age of Peter, Ben, and Joe. Now, we want to loop through this array. What are the age of the people inside it? They are inside the array. Okay, so we used for each. Okay, so followed by the variable name, which is age, meaning for each of the age here. Now we call on as x. Okay, we named x as the key, which could refer to Peter, to Ben, and to Joe, or maybe you can just write here name. Okay, and we call on its value and we assign it right here. Okay, name, and let's say this is their age, or we can call it x age. Okay. Okay, so now what do we want it to do? So we want it to print out the key value pair. We want it to print out the name, okay, and the age of the person inside this array. Now we can say echo name, okay, and followed by their age, their x age. Okay, and run. Okay, now it gives us Peter 35, and then it loops again Ben 37, loops again Joe 43. Now we're going to make it look a lot better. So let's echo a break here. Okay, and we can put a space here. Okay, and concatenate. Okay, so this is how we use for each loop to know the values, or to know the key value pairs inside the associative array. So in the previous pages, we have described arrays that are a single list of key value pairs. So however, sometimes we want to store values with more than one key, and for this we have multidimensional arrays. So what is a multidimensional array? This is an array containing one or more arrays. So PHP supports multidimensional arrays that are 2, 3, 4, 5 or more levels deep. However, arrays more than 3 levels deep are hard to manage for most people. Okay, so the PHP two-dimensional arrays. A two-dimensional array is an array of arrays. A three-dimensional array is an array of arrays of arrays. Okay, so first let's take a look at the following table. So we have the car name, which is Volvo. We have stock 22, and we have number of sold Volvo, so we have 18, and so on for the BMW, number of stocks, number of sold BMW. Okay. So we can store the data from the table above in a two-dimensional array like this. Now we created an array here, okay, and inside the array it contains several arrays. So this is an example of two-dimensional arrays. Now the two-dimensional cars, which is an array, contains 4 arrays, and it has 2 indices, the row and the column. Okay, so we have an array which is reassigned in variable cars. Okay, so we have it here in the example. Okay, so we have here again, we created an array which we assign inside the variable cars. So inside this array, we want to create, or we want to enlist several arrays. Okay, so this is the example. Now I'm going to delete this one and run. Okay, so here we echoed cars, which is of course the name of the variable, and then it's going to look for the index 0. And in our example here, since this is our array, okay, and inside it there is a list of arrays, this array becomes the index 0. And the index 0, which is in this index, it's going to look for index 0 in this array. Okay, so meaning we have here an array. Okay, so inside the array we have enlisted several arrays, and this is array index 0, array index 1, array index 2, array index 3. Okay, now it's going to look for index 0 inside the index 0. So this is our array index 0, and in this array it's going to look for index 0. This is your index 0, this is your index 1, this is your index 2. Okay, now this array is index 1. Okay, so in this index, BMW is index 0, 15 is index 1, 13 is index 2. Okay, and so on. That's why if we're going to change this into 1, so if it changes into 1, okay, now it's going to look for inside the array index 1. Now this is our index 1. Since this item here is index 0, right? So this is index 1. Now it's going to look for index 0 inside index 1, and that is BMW. Okay, and in stock cars at index 1, okay, that is 15. Okay, and index 2, that is 13. Now it gives us this result. Okay, how about we make our own? Okay, so we're going to delete this one. Supposing we're going to create an array of grades. Okay, and inside this array, we're going to assign grades to particular students. Okay, so supposing we have James, and grade in math is, let's say, 90, and grade in science is 95. Okay, we'll just copy this one. Okay, so let's say Peter. These are all names of apostles. Okay, so let's say grade is 80 and grade in science is 97. Okay, and one more. Supposing Peter, James, and John. Okay, so we have here 98 and 99. Okay, so now we have an array here, and inside this array we have a list of several arrays. Now we're going to echo, or we're going to print out the items inside the array. Okay, so let's say echo and the variable name, which is grades. Okay, so at index 0, let's find out what is the item inside that index. Okay, and concatenate. Now let's say grades in math. Okay, and let's concatenate again. Grades, and still at index 0, and let's say index 1, and let's concatenate again. Let's just copy this one. Okay, grades in science. Okay, and let's put a space in here, and let's say, I'll just copy this one, or maybe not. Okay, so let's say grades. Okay, and at index 0. Okay, so we want to know what is at index 2. Okay. Okay, so let's concatenate here. Let's put a break, or later. Okay, so maybe let's try this one. Oh, something's wrong. Oh, we forgot to concatenate here. Okay. Okay, so maybe we can put a space just right here. And where else? Math, grade in math, grade in science. Okay, so now we want, this is for index 0. Okay, now we want what is inside index 1. Okay, so we're just going to copy this. Okay, so at index 1, that's for Peter. Okay, and paste our index 2, index 2. Okay, this is a mess. Let's put a break here. Okay, concatenate and add a break. BR. Okay, let's try to run one item. Okay, it works. Concatenate and put a break. Breaks are very important in programming or in HTML. There. Okay. So try some more practice and you will really get what an array is, what multidimensional array is. Okay. So you could also loop through. You can also put a for loop inside another for loop. Okay, to get the elements of the cars, which is their example. Now let's create an output like this one, but we're not going to use echo. We're going to use a for loop. Okay, and we want the output to somehow look like this one, but not in a table format. Okay, so we use for. Okay, and then initialize it, and we're going to make use of the variable row. Let's initialize it to 1. Okay, and row should be less than, let's say 1, 2, 3. It should be less than 4. In our case, we have like 3 rows. Okay, so this is our row 1, row 2, and row 3, since we only have like 3 persons here. Okay, and let's say row plus plus, let's increment it every time it loops through. Okay. Okay, echo. Okay, so what do we want it to print out or to output? Okay, so let's say paragraph. Okay, and close paragraph here. Okay, so let's output something like this. Row number 1. Okay, so let's say row number, and we're going to fetch, or we're going to get row from our variable here. Okay, so we assign the row here to 1. Okay, now let's echo an unordered list. Echo and then UL. Okay, and here we're going to close the unordered list here. Okay, so inside this unordered list, we want it to output something like this. Okay, so let's say another for loop. So there is a for loop inside this for loop. Okay, so let's say for, and let's initialize the column this time. Column is equal to 0. Okay, and let's say our column is less than 2. Okay, and let's increment it as well. Column plus plus. Okay, so what do we want it to print out? So we want it to print out something like this. We enclose it in an unordered list. That's why it gives us bullets here, or bullet points. Okay, so let's echo here a list. Okay, so we're going to get our grades, the variable grades, okay, and it's going to look for indexes inside the array. So our array starts at this row, okay, that's why we change it to 0, okay, and this column, okay, and concatenate it, and let's close the list. Okay, and we'll stop. Okay. 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 Oh, sorry. Oh, that's nice. Oh, PHP parsed error unexpected 113. UL oh, we forgot the row here. Okay, well that's nice. Oh, why do we have it here? James 90. So row is equal to 0. Row is less than 4. Okay, we missed this one. Should be 3. Okay. Okay, and row number is less than 2. I mean 3. Okay, why 3? Because we start at 0. Okay, now for row 0, okay, row should be less than 3 because we started at 0 here. So this makes it, of course, it's 3, but we start at 0. That's why this becomes row 2. Our last row becomes row 2. Okay, and we assigned an ordered list here so that we can output the items inside our array. So here it calls for the column, okay, column 0, this array here, okay, and our column should be less than 3, okay, so this is 0, 1, and 2, and column plus plus. Okay, that's why it gives us the output of every time it loops around. Okay, grades is going to look for the row. Probably this is going to be row 0. It starts at row 0 here, and this becomes column 0. That's why it gives us this output here. Now the next time it loops around, it's going to be first row. Okay, so it makes it 1, okay, and here it will become still row 0, okay, or column 0, or the item 0, okay, because in here it's going to loop around, it's going to make it 1, and then the next time it's going to make it 2, okay, because it is responsible for the rows here. However, this one is responsible for the outputs here in the array.